What are the coolest psychology tricks that you know or have used? If you work with clients, prevent them from getting defensive and angry by not using the word you. It's not you didn't send the attachment, it's the attachment didn't send. Don't blame them, blame the thing you're talking about. I take my time when I write emails to clients because I like to word things just right. One word can be the difference between a happy client and an unhappy one. The right words in the right order can influence people to make decisions you want them to make. Words are powerful. This is really useful in sales. I used to sell car warranties and a big thing was using me instead of you to get on the customer's page. You need to protect your vehicle so you don't end up paying large repair bills out of pocket. Sounds like you're telling the person what to do and selling on fear. We should keep warranties on our vehicles so we don't end up getting stuck paying higher repair bills when they inevitably break down. You know what I mean? Gets them to agree, getting them into yes mode, and sounds relatable and truthful rather than like you're selling them. It's good for so constructive criticism too. We need to get better at picking stuff up around the house. Best one for kids, and this works wonders for behavioral problems. You never say don't do X. I had a terror child in daycare and people would yell at him for acting out. I would start each day by saying you're going to be a good boy today. And every time he acted out I would say wait, you're my good boy right? He would say yes and stop doing it. When his mom came to get him, I made a point of telling her how good he was. That child never acted out around me after a week. My people are very fertile, so I've looked after lots of cousins, siblings, etc. since I was 5. The one thing that kids want is control. What I mean is they're so helpless that they can't even turn in the light switches themselves, get a glass of water themselves, make their own meals. And they are very aware of this and immensely frustrated. The best way to harness this is to treat them as people with agency. Make them help you cook. Get their help cleaning. Get them to look after younger relatives. It seriously has never failed me. If someone is talking or preoccupied, you can hold out your hand and they'll give you whatever they're holding. I did it to my sister with the car keys and made her think she lost them somewhere at the store. I like to do the opposite. If I've been tasked with holding something I don't want to hold, I wait until someone is engaged in conversation and just hand them the item without saying a word. They just take it like that. You want someone you just met to like you? Ask them open-ended questions about themselves. Don't wait for your turn to speak. Listen, and then ask a follow-up question based on what they said. If you do that a couple of times, that person feels heard and appreciated by you. If they realize they're doing all the talking, they'll apologize and ask a question of you. If your answer is short and pivots back into something they said, you have now formed a connection in their mind as a good listener who is interested in what they have to say. People like that a lot. I do that with new people, and it works great. However, I also add on if they never realize they're doing all the talking, or don't bother to ever reciprocate asking anything about me, I probably lose interest in getting to know them anymore. I have had that problem in the past too. I was in a job previously that really relied on my being able to build rapport with customers in the first 5 minutes. But when I tried using the same techniques in my personal life, I've had friendships based on me being the listener and them the talker without any reciprocation. My favorite is silently maintaining eye contact when a person is attempted to bargain or convince you of something that you don't want to do or don't believe. They usually end up negotiating with themselves, which gives you a huge advantage, because once that happens, it is pretty much game over. Awkward silence is the salesperson's best friend. I used to hate when a new salesperson would go for the close, then speak during the silence part. Whoever speaks first loses. Giving students in my elementary class the illusion of choice. If you ask, do you want to start your work? Or isn't it time we got something done? I modify it to, would you like to do your assignment with a pencil or blue pen? They are too consumed with this choice that they have forgotten that they didn't want to do it in the first place. Also, every recess, did you push Jimmy? No. Okay, two people saw you do it and reported it to me. Are you sure you didn't? Sure. Then change it to can you tell me why you pushed him? Well, it's because. Get some every time. We are going to make Mexico pay for it. Now we think the wall is already built and aren't arguing about the possibility of building it, but who will pay for it when it is done being built? The concept of getting something for free completely derails a person's critical thinking skills. My dad was tool distributor and drove a truck to various repair shops selling tools to mechanics. He got an idea to start selling candy bars on his truck for $1. But you would get a free candy bar with every tool purchase. Almost everyone who asked how much the candy bar was didn't want to pay $1 for one, but they would buy a $100 socket set in order to get the candy bar for free. This reminds me of the free buckets incident in Finland. A department store gave out free buckets to everyone who came to their grand opening. A bucket is not just an object, it's an opportunity. So many things fit in a bucket. Carry it around for a while. Dump it somewhere else. Put the bucket on your head. Use it to be taller. Buckets are ducking great, man. I totally understand. I use the grey rock method on my narcissist brother-in-law. Basically, I made myself so dull and boring and the opposite of drama that he learned to avoid me at all costs. It worked like a charm and only took 4 to 5 encounters to take effect. I read that as gay rock and was curious to see your methodology. Have a toddler that is in a bad mood. Sit down with them, look them straight in the eye, and say you're mad, so don't laugh. Just keep repeating it as seriously as you can. I've done it for 15 different cousins over a couple of decades, and by the 5th repetition of don't laugh they are busting a gut and rolling on the floor. My dad did this to me all the time and I ducking hate it. In an argument, speak softly. It forces active listening, which leads to active thinking. When they are listening and thinking, they are not yelling, arguing, or talking. I concur. What the duck did you just say to me, you little crap? It's better to frame it as we little crap. The flinch. Whether you're negotiating a raise, the sale price of a car you want to buy, who does what chores around the house, always flinch visibly at the first and sometimes second offers. The flinch can be as simple as a small wince, a sigh, or an eye roll. The flinch quite often causes people to lowball the initial offer. I learned this from my husband, and it freaking works. Got my current job at 10% over the maximum salary because I flinched. Just got a new job. They didn't want to meet face to face to negotiate the salary and told me about the benefits over the phone. Now I'm a woman and fairly young, but I decided I was going to negotiate for it because hell, why not? Down with stereotypes. She made me her offer and I just went oh in a disappointed voice and stopped talking. Technique number 2. She went on to babble a bit. Next day got an offer with a 10% salary increase. Bam. Flinch plus silence. That works. If you want to calm someone down, sympathize with them whilst describing what's upsetting them in descending orders of magnitude. I understand why you're angry. You're right to be frustrated. This would annoy me too. As they accept the acknowledgements they want, they should also accept the declining emphasis on emotion and become calmer. Read Marshall Rosenberg's book about nonviolent communication. This is what you're doing. You're showing empathy, you acknowledge their feelings, and don't start with giving advice. I had a very strange encounter with a coworker once. We were on a break, had chatted a bit, the usual mundane, are you married, etc, do you have kids, and when I said no, she waited, staring at me, for me to continue. Boy did that ever work. The longer she stared the more I babbled. I couldn't stop talking. I'd finish a sentence, she kept staring, and I'd start talking again and not, because she was politely listening. She was compelling me to talk. I have no idea why she did that, if it was just her way, or if she does that to learn things about people, but it was the creepiest conversation I have ever had. I'm older now, so that wouldn't work on me, but it sure was effective at the time. Yep, I do this, but without the staring and any malicious intent. I'm just not much of a talker. People will tell you the strangest and most personal things when they babble. Does this count? They aren't cool, but pretty helpful. I sometimes have anxiety brain where I start to panic about the future or the past or whatever. I've learned to stop myself and tell myself, hey, wait, you need to finish your job. Your job is XXX. So, for instance, I'll be doing dishes, get lost in thought, and start to get upset and anxious. I'll then tell myself, hey, you have to finish doing the dishes. That's your job right now. And then I'll take a deep breath, or multiple deep breaths. It's just another way to center yourself and bring yourself back to the present, but it's helpful. Hard to do it at first, but I've gotten good at it. Also, sometimes anxiety brain can lead to some heavy, self-loathing, probably false thoughts. I've more recently taught myself that when that happens to stop, take a breath, and say one nice thing about myself. So when bad brain goes into, what the f*** Tammy Tangerine, you're the worst, I can't believe you f***ed up that insignificant thing, I'll try and stop myself, and say something like, that, no, I'm kind. That's a harder trick for sure, but I'm getting better at it. Many people, I would say most, maybe almost all, are surprisingly susceptible to flattery and being told what they want to hear. People tend to shy away from this strategy, thinking it will be too obvious and clumsy, but just try it. It's as if being flattered or hearing people agree with you gives people a rush of pleasurable hormones to the brain. Wow, that is an incredible observation. Definitely one of the best I've seen in this thread. Do you use this often? I can imagine you being very successful in situations where you're new. I never do this. I have the social instincts of a sea slug. But I have seen it done over and over with great success, and know that I have had to condition myself to be less susceptible to it. You're doing a great job of working on not being so susceptible to it. Keep up the hard work. When playing rock, paper, scissors, stop right before and ask without looking, can you tell me what color your shirt is? And people seem to always pick scissors after. I've done it to maybe 20 people and got the same result every time. Very scientific. To get someone to like you more, ask them to do a favor for you, like let you borrow a pencil. Benjamin Franklin was a big proponent of this idea. Don't fall for it. He still hasn't returned my pencil. I can get the pencil back for you. Allow me to introduce myself. The name is Lionel Hutz, attorney at Oh My God, It's You. You are the reason I had to add an extra digit to my username. I feel like I've witnessed the stars aligning in such a way that will never happen again in my lifetime.